Storm Amy is coming. The first storm of the 2025-26 season is going to arrive as we go through this Friday, October the 3rd, into Saturday, October the 4th. And it is going to bring some very wet, but also very windy weather with the potential for some damaging winds, particularly across some northern parts. Now, there is still a bit of uncertainty, particularly when it comes to the details. We still need to firm up on those. But what do we know? Well, we know that a deep area of low pressure is heading our way, and it is going to bring some stormy weather, like I say, particularly across northern parts. Let's delve into this. So currently we have a strong jet, a very active jet stream, and it's this that's driving unsettled weather across some parts towards the north and west at the moment, and it's going to be driving that area of low pressure towards us. But let's run through very quickly the next few days, because if you want more detail on the weather through the next couple of days, check out our daily weather videos, which are available on YouTube and our app and our website. But we do have fronts pushing into parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England as we go through Wednesday, Thursday and into Friday, and they are bringing some heavy rain. Now, worth highlighting that there is an area of low pressure that develops as we go through into Thursday. That is going to bring some blustery, windy weather to northern areas, but nothing on the scale of what we're going to see this weekend, particularly Friday night and into Saturday when Storm Amy arrives. A much deeper area of low pressure that's likely to track quite close to around northern parts of Scotland. But first, let's look at how this feature is set to develop. And let's run back to, well, kind of current time. Through Wednesday afternoon, the low pressure system that will become Amy hasn't yet developed. What we do have, if I get rid of the jet stream, is we do have two hurricanes on the other side of the Atlantic. We have Umberto and also Imelda, and these are going to interact with each other. And then if we run it through, a separate area of low pressure is going to develop as we go through the end of Wednesday, and it's this that becomes Storm Amy. Now, worth noting that Umberto does feed into Amy, and they sort of merge together, and that helps intensify it. But if I put the jet stream back on now, the track that Amy takes is incredibly important, because initially it's on the southern side, the warmer side of the jet. But as we go through Friday, the forecast track has it going across the jet stream and moving to the colder northern side. And when it crosses the jet and ends up on that left jet exit region, well, that means it's going to intensify rapidly, and it's going to continue to intensify. It's going to continue to deepen as a feature as it gets closer to the UK as we go through Friday. And you can see that if I get rid of the jet stream again, you can see how tightly packed those isobars are. The tighter they are together, the greater the pressure gradient, the greater the strength of the winds will be. And you can see they continue to deepen as it goes very close to just to the north of the UK, bringing some intense winds. Now, the fact that it's still deepening as it gets close to the UK is important for two reasons. One, because until it's fully deepened, there will always be some uncertainty as to exactly how deep it's going to be, how intense a feature, and therefore how strong the winds are going to be. But also, the fact that it's deepening as it gets so close to the UK just emphasises the fact that it is going to be a deep area of low pressure, and that's why we're going to see some very windy weather. Now, as well as the wind, we do need to watch out for the rain. So let's look at the details when it comes to the rain that's pushing through before I go on to the wind speeds that we can expect. So this is Friday. Like I said, there is some more unsettled weather towards the north and west before then, warnings out. But it's a band of rain that sweeps through as we go through Friday itself, through Friday afternoon. Now, this is going to be heavy, some persistent rain, particularly across the northern 2/3 of the UK. Further south, there will be some rain pushing through, but not as heavy, not as intense. But a persistent band of rain pushing through as we go through Friday afternoon. And then we have another band of rain following in behind. This one, though, doesn't look like it will be quite as wide, but quite an intense band of rain that pushes in as we go through overnight into Saturday. Just to go back a little bit, because there are a few things that I wanted to highlight. Notice the wraparound. This is a band of rain coming round, and that's going to then push into the Western Isles as we go through later Friday, and that's going to continue to bring more wet weather to Orkney and Shetland as well as the whole feature clears away as we go through Saturday. Once the low pressure centre that is Storm Amy clears away towards the northeast as we go through Saturday into Sunday, we end up with this brisk northwesterly flow, and that's going to pile in plenty of showers. So yes, we are expecting some heavy rain to arrive through Friday, and that could cause some localised issues. Then that clears through, and then we end up in a very showery setup. These showers could be heavy, they could be thundery, and they are going to be very blustery, very windy as well. But let's look at those wind speeds that we can expect then. And as we go through Friday, let's dart ahead to this coming Friday. And just to run through, as we go through the afternoon into the evening, that's when we're really going to see the winds strengthen. Again, you can see that wrap around because of here, this is where the low pressure is likely to be centred. And you can see that wrap around. The strongest winds pushing into the Western Isles as we go through Friday night. That's where we have the risk of gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour. But also worth noting, strong winds pushing into the far northern parts of Northern Ireland, some feeding up the Irish Sea, clipping western parts of England, perhaps even parts of Wales as well. And also some southeasterly winds pushing up and affecting Aberdeenshire, Orkney and Shetland as well. So a lot of windy weather around. Then all of that pushes through, but we continue with the strong winds as we go through into Saturday, albeit not quite as strong as they will have been through Friday evening. But nonetheless, worth bearing in mind, far north of Scotland, Orkney and Shetland staying very windy here, albeit the winds coming from a different direction by this point as we go through much of Saturday. And continuing then with that showery setup that I showed you, the winds piling in from the northwest, and so we're going to continue to see some strong, potentially damaging winds coming in from the northwest as we go through parts of Saturday as well. In terms of the warnings that we have out then as a result of this, well, we do have a couple, well, there are a couple of warnings that we have currently out at the time of recording. We have a warning across parts of Northern Ireland for strong winds. That's valid at the moment from 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon all the way until 6 o'clock Saturday morning. And then a much bigger warning across the whole of Scotland, some parts of northwest England and the far north of Wales. And that's valid from 6 o'clock on Friday evening all the way until the end of the day on Saturday, so midnight Saturday into Sunday. Within these warning areas, there's the potential for 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts quite widely, potentially 60 to 70 miles per hour in some exposed spots, and maybe in excess of 80 miles per hour, particularly around those western, northwestern parts of Scotland as we go through Friday night into Saturday. The winds are gradually easing as we go through Saturday, but nonetheless still some strong winds across particularly northern parts of Scotland through large chunks of Saturday, which is why the warning stays valid for such a long period of time. Because of these sort of winds, well, there's the risk of some disruption, as you would expect. There will be some travel disruption, so some roads, some bridges could be closed, ferries could be cancelled, there'll be disruption to trains on other roads and also to planes as well. There's also the risk of some power cuts, and with that, other services could be disrupted, so there could be some mobile phone outages as well. Also need to bear in mind that trees could be blown down, there could be some blown branches, there could be a little bit of damage to property with loose roof tiles perhaps being blown around, so some flying debris. So particularly during Friday evening, overnight, early Saturday, and perhaps into Saturday itself across northern parts, do be aware if you need to travel, well, maybe consider altering your plans a little bit. If you do have any outdoor plans, then they may need to change, and try to avoid going out as well because of the potential damage to property, the potential danger that the strong winds will be posing. These warnings are the current ones that we have out. As the details firm up as we get nearer the time, they are going to get tweaked, they are going to get changed, so they are worth keeping on top of. Why is there some uncertainty? Well, the exact track that the low pressure takes is still a little bit uncertain. Here I have a couple of models behind me. So I have the Met Office model in the top left, then the European ECMWF in the top right, the GFS, the American model in the bottom left, and then ICON, the German model, in the bottom right. And they have the low pressure coming through slightly different places and ever so slightly in different depths, intensities. And so because there's some uncertainty as to exactly how close it is going to come to the UK, notice the Met Office model has it a bit closer to the UK than, for example, the global model, and also has it a bit deeper. because there's some uncertainty exactly how strong those winds are going to be and exactly where we see those strongest winds. Well, that's the detail that we just need to firm up on as we get nearer the time. I can show you that in another way. If I get my ECMWF charts up, and if we run through to, let's go to Friday and pause it here, and also let's put my forecast tracks on. And if I run through to Friday evening, and what you can see is that this is most likely the low is going to fringe somewhere just close to the northwest of Scotland. And so always the strongest winds will be on the southwestern flank of that low. And so that's why it's in this part of northwest Scotland where we're going to see the strongest winds. But it is just worth bearing in mind that when looking at the potential forecast tracks, it could be quite a bit further north, and it also could be a little bit further south and track more across central parts of Scotland. Now, if it's a bit further south, then whilst the low may therefore be ever so slightly less deep, and so the absolute strongest winds might be a little bit lighter, the impacts could be a bit more widespread, with strong damaging winds pushing further south as well. So because there's still some uncertainty as to the exact track that the low takes, and also uncertainty as to exactly how deep it's going to get, there are going to still be some question marks as to exactly how impactful a storm this is going to be. But nonetheless, it is going to be wet and it is going to be very windy for many places, particularly across northern parts of the UK as we go through this Friday and into Saturday. So what can you do? Well, like I said, if you do have any plans, planning to travel through Friday into Saturday, maybe you might need to adjust your plans accordingly. Stay up to date with the warnings as they are going to get tweaked, and share this information, share this video, share everything that I've been telling you with anyone who you think may be impacted by Storm Amy as well. I hope you enjoyed this and found it interesting. I'll see you again soon.